I'm from an area of London which was quite deprived. I'm from Newham. We had fairly poor, probably some of the poorest air quality in Newham, certainly during the 1960s and 70s when I was going to school. So I'm aware that there are children who are still living in areas similar to that, and in parts of London where air quality is poor. We had an inquest a number of years ago of a small child who died of what was on record as from poor air pollution, poor air quality. And also I'm a former school governor, and so I'm aware of a school in Newham. I'm aware of the challenges that these schools have and the opportunities that really these children need to have. We've worked with private schools in London who've sought to improve the air quality in their schools, and so they should. But I'd also like to extend that into the state schools as well. So WSP, who I work for, one of the air quality technical directors at WSP, were commissioned by the GLA on the back of the Mayor Sadiq Khan's a strategy to look at indoor air quality in schools, in particular in nurseries. And as part of that, there was a mitigation to improve air quality within schools by installing air filtration devices, or air purifiers as they're sometimes called. So we selected 6 manufacturers based on some strict criteria to install those devices into nurseries. It wasn't an inter-comparison exercise. It was just to look at the performance of a number of air purifiers, and also the feasibility of getting them into schools, in particular to nursery schools, which can be quite challenging and very busy environments. And what we found was that generally the air filtration devices were very successful. They reduced PM 2.5 concentrations in classrooms by 2 to 3 micrograms a cubic metre, which was actually about 40 to 50% of the background concentration. They were less successful in reducing nitrogen dioxide concentrations, partly because they weren't necessarily designed to do that, but some of them were able to do that. But what we did find was there was an overall acceptance and welcoming of interventions by the classroom teachers and staff, that they really welcomed this, and some felt that the incidence of asthma actually dropped off anecdotally during the time that the filtration devices were installed. 20 nurseries were assessed for air quality, but only 6 were selected to have mitigation and air filtration devices installed. The GLA have since gone on to look at that within schools, and we've helped them do that within schools. And so we've looked at the past year 5 schools looking at installation of air filtration devices in multiple classrooms, and we found equally that PM 2.5 does reduce again. And I know that the GLA are looking at installing air filtration devices into up to 200 schools in the next couple of years. So they're clearly seeing this as a positive and looking at it's all retrofitting. They're not looking at changing internal systems in schools. They're just looking at a very simple retrofit to improve air quality within schools within the GLA classrooms. Out of the box air filtration devices, but they're not the domestic scale devices. They're a device which could handle a classroom size, changing it between 3 to 4, even sometimes 5 air changes an hour, even in a classroom of 30 children. So they need to perform at quite a high level in terms of their filtration efficiency, but also they need to be relatively unobtrusive. They can't obstruct an area of the classroom. They cannot disturb the classroom in terms of their noise levels, and also they can't be too expensive to replace air filtration devices. The filters themselves, they have to have a low operational cost. Yes, I mean, when we were installing our air filtering devices within the schools and not nurseries recently, we were pushing aside some very small devices that were clearly designed for a domestic purpose. And someone in the school had decided that was probably a good idea to put a small system in, but it probably had virtually no effect at all.